Appetite for Records here, and I want to show my favorite crate digging finds. I'm going to try to stick to records that either I knew nothing of the artist whatsoever and just bought it on the spur, or I knew very little of the artist. Like, these are in no particular order here. First is 10 Years After Space and Time. I believe all I knew of 10 Years After at this point in time was I knew the song I'm Going Home from the movie Woodstock, and that was it. And me and my friend Hunter, we said we just have to find 10 Years After. I think that was our goal when we first started crate digging. We need to find a 10 Years After album. And this is the one we found, A Space and Time, which is highly regarded. Some people call it their best. And we were blown away by this one. And I guess the big hit song was I'd Love to Change the World, which was an amazing song, by the way. Amazing song. Surprised I haven't heard that over the years, since they consider that their biggest hit. And this started us into my 10 Years After collection, which I've been obsessed with ever since. Okay, these three I'm gonna label them under surprise. Like either I found out I bought them not knowing who they were, then later you found out, oh, I know that song. That's a pretty big hit song too, and I had no idea. Or this one here, where I found out, oh, I recognize that sample from a rap song, and that's Mass Production. The song Firecracker. I recognized a sample that Two Live Crew used, and I guess they stole it from Firecracker. Which is a good song, by the way. And these two are the ones I was talking about. Like, you find out later that there was a hit song on them, and I just bought them on impulse. I bought this one because of the funny cover. Hughes Corporation, Freedom for the Stallion. How can I pass that up? That's just so goofy with the horse there. And later, I found out they did the song Rock the Boat, which was a monster hit back in the day. I was shocked. I figured it'd be some soul music, but I wasn't expecting any hits. And this one, too, this has got to be one of the worst covers I've ever seen in my life. But it was only a quarter, and it was The Whispers. I knew nothing of The Whispers, never heard of The Whispers before. I was like, for a quarter, I'll take a chance. And what do you know? They did a big hit song, And the Beat Goes On. You have to look that one up, because that is a really, really good song. So was Rock the Boat. But, like, the average person might see this and say, even for a quarter, I'm not buying that. Especially someone who doesn't know who the Whispers are. And here is one called Rob McConnell and the Boss Brass, Big Band Jazz. I didn't even realize that it said Rob McConnell and Big Boss in the Boss Brass. I just thought it was a generic, like, jazz album, like, very generic. But this was amazing, amazing, amazing. I guess a combination of big band and jazz. I don't really know how to explain it, except it's just amazing and you need to hear it. But I don't know if I can't say it's very common, though. And these are a couple recent ones coming up. For 50 cents, it was the Michael Schenker Group. I had no idea what it was, but that cover looked really interesting. And this is some good metal. Not Metallica metal, but good metal. You know, it's not as hard as Metallica kind of metal, but it is really... I was surprised how good this was. Look up the song Lost Horizons. I really recommend that. And here's another one I bought by the cover alone. Roger Taylor's Fun in Space. I had no idea who Roger Taylor was. Find out he was the drummer from Queen. I guess I would say this is kind of like a little like Aldo Nova in a way, kind of style, just a little. But one thing I'll say about this album, it may be one of the cleanest and clearest albums I have ever heard. I mean, really, really clear, really, really clear. The the quality, I guess the quality of the pressing is amazing on that. Maybe one of the best albums I own for quality. Here's another one. I had no idea what it was before I bought it. The Plasmatics Coup d'etat. And it's crazy looking. Wendy O. Williams. But I actually had no idea what this was when I bought it. But I was like, for $1, this has got to be punk or metal or something. And it is really good. I'm not very good at explaining in the detail of the kind of music it is, but it is good metal. This one was actually these next two are actually freebies. My friend gave this to me because he probably would never listen to anything like this, but he got it. Someone sent it as an extra in a package he got, and it's "Concert by the Sea" by Errol Garner. And I guess it's got jazz piano, but it was really good, really really good if you like jazz. And this was in the free bin at a store we go to. And it was Chick Corea, Light as a Feather. I think I've heard of Chick Corea at this point in time, but I had no idea what he did or anything. And this is considered his probably his best album as well, and it was in the free bin. Really good jazz. I'll also say that there's probably some albums that probably also should have made this list, but I only heard them once and I don't remember them that well. I thought they were really good, but I guess not good enough for me to remember to put them in this list here. So maybe I'll have to give them a second listen one time, and maybe they'll make this list next time. Next we have the Fabulous Poodles Mirror Stars. Never heard of them either, but it was another. Don't know if it was $1 or may have been less than $1 even. Were they a Canadian band? I'm trying to remember because I know their first two albums weren't released here. But I recommend hearing this. I recommend the song Mirror Star and Tit Photographer Blues. And this album here was actually more of like a compilation. Because since their first two albums never came out here, when they finally put out an album, it was like the best songs from the first two albums. And here's another recent one, Sharks. This is a good rockin' band. I was kind of surprised. What was the song I liked? There was a song I really liked on here. I've forgotten already. I forgot if it was Driving Sideways or Steal Away. But I highly recommend it. Here's another one, Original Mirrors. Kind of, how do I describe him? These guys. Kind of like U2-ish, I guess? Kind of style. But I recommend Feel Like a Train. I recommend you checking out the song Feel Like a Train. Yeah, Feel Like a Train. Amazing song. Oh, and the song Sharp Words. Check those out. Amazing stuff. Okay, here we're going into... I knew who this person was, but I didn't know really who he was. I knew him as Buxter Poindexter. I knew his name was David Johansen. I I may have at one time at this point when I bought this record knew that he was in the New York Dolls and had a revelation, but then completely forgot that. So when I bought this, I was like, this could be rockin' stuff, but I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure it'd be rockin' stuff or would be stuff more like the Buxter Poindexter, hot, hot, hot. But this ended up being simply amazing. My favorite song is the Lonely Tenement, but every song on here is good. Donna's good. Funky But Chic was probably the known song off here. Frenchette is great. The song Girls kind of almost reminds me of the Beastie Boys Girls. Like, I wonder if the Beastie Boys took some inspiration from that. Here's another one. Knew nothing about them before I bought it. It's Spooky Tooth the Mirror. The cover was just too cool to pass up, though. And once again, amazing, amazing, amazing. I'd put this one in my top 5 picks of crate digging finds ever. The song Hell or High Water is one of the best songs ever, I tell you. Well, there's Spooky Tooth is good old rock and roll. I don't know how to what category to put them in. But I think this is a different lead singer though than their earlier stuff, if I'm remembering correctly. Or am I remembering incorrectly? No, this has Gary Wright. But didn't they have another lead singer at one time before Gary Wright, or did Gary Wright leave after this one or something? Now I gotta look it up again. But check out the song Hell or High Water. That should have been a hit song, and it wasn't a hit song. Here is Tom Brown Rockin' Radio. All I knew was the song Rockin' Radio. Possibly one of the first hip hop songs I ever heard in my life. And the funny thing is that he's not really a hip hop artist, he's a jazz artist. Kind of a jazz funk artist. But this whole album is great. Kind of a jazzy hip hop funk style. Here's one I only knew one song off this album. Is Josie Cotton from The Hip. I'm a big fan of the movie Valley Girl, and the music from the movie Valley Girl is amazing as well. She had 3 songs in that movie. 2 of the songs are on her first album, which I don't own yet, but they're on high on my want list. And I only knew one song off this one, School Is In, but the whole thing was great. Explaining her would be like a Cyndi Lauper, like Tony Basil, like maybe, I don't know, not really like Madonna. But anyway, Jimmy Loves Marianne is a great song. No Use Crying is a great song. Straight Talk is a great song. This whole thing is great. If you like bubblegum pop. And I kind of bought this one as a joke thing, because I thought it was going to be terrible. And it was amazing. It was Raphael for 25 cents. It's all in Spanish, because I guess he was a popular Spanish singer. But I fell in love with the song in Acapulco. I would call him like the Spanish Tom Jones, I guess. I guess he's a crooner. He's a crooner. There's a funny story with this one. I bought this on impulse, that cover. I figured it was going to be some good soul funk stuff or something. It was more like soul disco. And the whole album was great. Really, really great. And then later I look her up and I found out that she dated David Bowie for a while. And she had a big influence on his 70s style and music. She was a big influence on him. She dated him for quite a few years there. There's a really good article I found that was they interviewed her after Bowie's death. And she told a lot of cool stories about when they were dating, the parties they would go to. And I advise checking that out. It's a really good read, if you can find it. If I can remember, I'll put a link in the description. Here's one that I thought was going to be the most generic soul group of all time. And it was called Quick. I think I paid $0.25 for this as well. You know, later to find out this is uncommon. I looked this up on Discogs, and I mean, there's a chance this could go for $20-$30 maybe. I don't really want to sell it. It ended up being really good. Wasn't generic at all. It was really good soul music. Well, that cover, I thought it'd be the most generic thing I'd ever heard in my life. Okay, this one is kind of pushing the I don't know much about the artist. But it's the Temptations do the Temptations. See, all I knew of the Temptations at this point was, they did Motown stuff, like My Girl. That's the Temptations? And things like that. And, but this is totally different than that. Way, way different than that. This is a funky disco Temptations. And let's see. I recommend Let Me Count the Ways. Actually, the song I really, really recommend, Why Can't You and Me Get Together, is amazing as well. I'm not sure, did I know that was a hit song before about this? Why Can't You and Me Get Together? But that's a great song as well. But actually, the song I really recommend is called The Prophet by them, and it's off of, I think it's off House Party? Is that what it's called? Is that what the album's called, House Party? I think so. But that is an amazing, it's got a really, really cool disco sound to it. This is the Temptations I like. The funky soul disco Temptations. This is the best era of Temptations. This is actually my favorite pick of all time. If I was going to count my favorite dollar bin picks, crate digging picks, it would have to be Trick or Treat by Fastway. I didn't know who Fastway was before this. Surprised, surprise, surprise, but I did not know. And the funny thing is that, this is a soundtrack for my 80s horror movie, and I rented 80s horror movies all the darn time back then. 86 even? Rented Nightmare on Elm Street, or I remember renting Hellraiser, even the oddball ones like Rawhead Rex, I remember renting that. So many odd horror movies I rented back then. Pumpkinhead. But I never heard of Fastway. I never seen the movie Trick or Treat. And this is definitely my favorite. The best songs on here are definitely, to me anyway, Stand Up, Hold On to the Night, and If You Could See. But they're all good. Some people would say Trick or Treat's their best. Don't Stop the Fight is amazing. And actually, the funny thing is that If You Could See is actually off their second album. So that's a good album, too. There's only two left here. Here's one that Patti Smith Horses. That only thing I knew of Patti Smith at this time is that somewhere during the 80s, I saw her do a performance on Saturday Night Live. But she didn't do a performance on Saturday Night Live. I think it was in the 70s though, and not the 80s. So maybe it was like a rerun of like the best performances kind of show or something. I'm not really sure, but I remember her performing on there, and that's the last I had heard of her ever. And I don't even remember what the song she sang was, but it was probably the song off here, which is what is it? Gloria? Yeah, Gloria. It was probably Gloria. She probably did on there too. But I bought it kind of impulse. I'm like, I think I remember her. I think I do. And it ended up being another masterpiece. People rave about this album. Horses. I'd put her in the same category as David Johansen. It's like they're almost like the same style. And lastly, since these were in no particular order, was the Tubes remote control. Never heard of the Tubes. The album cover looked crazy, looked space age, and I guess they were kind of like a poppy rock band, but a good poppy rock band. I guess they had a big hit song after this album, but I like this album the best. Out of all the ones I've gotten, this is the best one. Prime Time was a hit song, which I did not know. The songs I like are Prime Time, of course, Prime Time. No Way Out is freaking amazing as well. And there was another one I liked as well. There was 3 songs on here I liked. Actually, I might have it written down here because I was going to do another video for another topic. Oh, and No Mercy. No Mercy. Check out the song No Mercy. Poppy rock, kind of like The Knack, I guess. You know, they started off a lot like as a punk band. Then they kind of mellowed out and did more like poppy rock. I guess The Knack, bands like that maybe. I really hate to use the word poppy rock. I shouldn't use that word. But I guess that's everything. My next video, I was gonna do my favorite songs from albums that I hadn't heard a song on the album before I bought it, or maybe I knew very little. Kind of like the same subject as this one, but I was gonna do in particular songs, and there's gonna be some different albums as well. Some of the same, some different. So thanks for watching.